let me first echo what Dan said about our best decision in the compliance realm being to actually engage with Ethisphere 4 years ago. It was a great decision, and it's literally the best tool that I have in place right now in supporting this function at Juniper. When we had talked earlier about, T and I, about fears that people might have, I can tell you that at the time that we actually engaged with Ethisphere, we didn't have the most sophisticated ethics and compliance program. We really started putting something together in about 2008. But I had worked with a different company, and the company was more general in nature. The company was, doing broad statistical reviews and surveys and questionnaires that didn't really enable them to get to know us very well and the particular things that we were doing. And so we made the decision to engage with Ethisphere with a couple of concerns. The first was that the process might not, in fact, be confidential. That we would actually apply for WME, not be awarded, and that would somehow be blasted to the press. And, that's not the case. The process is incredibly confidential. When I've had any type of concerns, those have been, clearly allayed for me, and we've been really pleased with confidentiality and the responsiveness of the team overall. I would tell you that it's kind of been the opposite process for us, but, we've been happy to have data on our desks that showed that we wanted to reach out and actually do some benchmarking, and not just general benchmarking as we had done with the other entity that we were working with. This is particular to companies who really care about ethics and compliance in this space. So to be able to demonstrate that we benchmarked with WME companies and to demonstrate where we're at was a huge benefit for us. The other fear that we had, although not as much as the confidentiality issue, was really whether or not we would get a report back that might show us, because we weren't so mature, we thought at the time, might show us not comparing so well to the WME companies. And we knew that we didn't have enough resources at that point to actually push forward and make, huge changes in our program. But I would tell you, what we found out was that there was nothing shocking for us in the report, but it helped us to do a couple of things. It helped us to prioritize incredibly well what next steps we needed to take, helped us to build out that roadmap that's ever so important to be able to show to people inside and outside the company. And it also enabled me to have probably the most engaging conversations that I've ever had with our executive team. So it's one thing to walk in to the CEO's office and say, I really think we need to focus on X next, right? It's another thing to walk in and show a report from WME companies that shows where we're at and where we want to get. And that, that's been incredibly useful. We've also had, a number of our executives actually talk with the folks at Ethisphere, and, they've been highly impressed, and it's helped to, those conversations have really helped to guide our compliance committee over time and our executive view of compliance as a whole.
That's great. So there are a couple of questions here from people, and they're basically saying things like, I'm not sure that I'm good enough in category A or category B. Should I even bother in going through the process? And I think that what you're saying is there's great value in going through the process. The benchmarking alone makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, I think there's value for a company at every level of maturity and at every point in terms of putting in place a compliance program. I mean, you kind of need to get a better view of what people are doing, have some conversations with Ethisphere following the submission and gaining that report back. I had an incredible conversation with Michael Byrne, who was just speaking a couple of months ago when we got our latest WME report back, and we've gone through this process, multiple years in a row, and I'm still learning. I would tell you, from the very first report that we got in 2010 until today, whether mature or not in different places, it's incredibly valuable. And to be able to have those conversations and really dig into what other people are doing and what might be most beneficial to your program. I mean, if you have an option of 10 things to do in the area of governance, what 2 are the really heavy hitters that you might want to focus on over the next year? And then draw out that plan for 3 to 5 years. That's incredibly helpful. So I've heard a lot of people say, actually in the Bay Area, maybe we're not at that point to apply yet. And I would say the opposite. I think, if you're even wondering if you're at the right place and on the right track, it's the time to apply. And again, we did it very early in our compliance program history and structure, and it's guided me, through the past 4 years. I'm happy that we did it early.
Well, I mean, you have a great track record, and the work is never done because no matter how far you go, the bar is always moving, so there's always work to do, right, Laura?
That's right. I mean, it does help you to build out that view, right? I think there was a quote earlier that Tim had discussed that the best of yesterday, the leading edge yesterday is the standard now, and that's the case. And so I think you really, to continue doing this year after year and kind of learning where you need to build and where you need to start is incredibly helpful.